Greetings, Benjamin J. from Ben's Trains with another in the series. Well, look what has just arrived. A Marx 400 in less than perfect condition. And as you see, it is broken. And I found this on eBay for $7. And usually I do not mess around with the 490s or the 400s if they have the micro motor. However, this one has the full-size double reduction motor. This is the same motor that's in the 666. So whenever I find these, I buy them. So anyway, I bought it, arrived today, and it was in terrible, terrible condition. The shell itself was missing the rear plate and the coupler, and it was a 400, and I've got it stuck in a 490 body that I just happened to have. And went through all the bodies I had and picked out one that actually fits. And of course it's broken, but I'm just testing the motor. I mean, I bought this strictly for the motor. Now the motor itself, the motor was missing the rear or the lower spring for the brush and the brush itself. So I got that repaired, which was no big deal. Put a few drops of oil on it, and it would sit there. It wouldn't even buzz. And when you get to that point, the only thing left to do is then clean the armature with alcohol and see if that made a difference. It did not. It was the E-unit. The E-unit would not cycle. The coil would get hot and nothing would move. So like always, I bypassed the E-unit, cleaned it up, put a new light bulb in it, oiled it, lubed it, tuned it, and this little engine is running really, really well. Now remember, I bought this for the motor. And so the next time a engine comes in with a metal motor that has a damaged motor in it, I will just swap this out into it. This would actually make a great motor for a Commodore Vanderbilt, or a 666 for that matter. Double reduction motors, they can pull more power from a dead stop than a single reduction motor can. They're not necessarily faster, they just have a lot more torque. So anyway, let's put this on the rail and see how we've done. So putting it on the tin litho rail, or trying to, there we go. Okay, it's on the tin litho rail, pulling 20 tin litho cars. So a Marx 400 with double reduction motor, eBay, $7. And that's about 50% power. So it's running nice and smooth all the way around. This thing's only been running for a few minutes. It doesn't have any great amount of wear to it. It hasn't been run much. It's just been sitting somewhere. No idea what happened to the brush and the brush springs. Obviously somebody needed them for something else. But like I said, it's always gratifying to take something that was just beat to death, forgotten for years, and in just a few minutes bring it back to life and get it running. So a double reduction motor, same motor that's in the Marx 666. So I could drop this into anything and it would be an improvement. So I could put it in an 898, I could put it in a Commodore Vanderbilt, I could put it in a Canadian Pacific. So I'll look around for a metal shell and see what I have, and very likely this 400 motor is going to wind up in one of those. It may just wind up on the shelf until something turns up. But it's always a good idea to have one or two spare motors, especially when you can get them cheap. I've looked on eBay, just the motors are $25, $35, $45, which is ridiculous when you can buy one of these engines for $7 and get the motor with it. I mean, I never understood anyone buying a motor out of a Marx locomotive and spending that kind of money for it. It's ridiculous. If you look around if the guy's asking $25 for the motor, you could sometimes buy two Marx engines that don't work for the same price, and you have two motors. And it's just a matter of knowing how to fix them and recognizing, of course, what is wrong with them. This one, neglect and a bit of abuse. Obviously, they needed the brush and the brush spring for another engine, so they just used this one for parts. And if it had it not run, that's exactly what I would have done with it, is just torn it apart and used it for parts. But so far, 99% of these engines that I am buying are winding up running in less than an hour. And it didn't take long to get this fixed. It was just a matter of, A, finding out what was wrong with it, replacing the missing parts. And the E-unit, the coil would get warm, but it wouldn't cycle. It wouldn't do anything. And so the easiest way to eliminate the problem of an E-unit is bypass it. It also supplies a lot more power directly to the motor itself. Yes, it always runs forward, but the kind of running that I do, it is actually a problem to have a motor start in reverse. And I do not like these Marx motors starting backwards. I just do not like them. So in any case, in 90% of the motors I have, they run forward only, and that is absolutely fine with me. So just want to do a quick video on this. Don't overlook the junk. $7 on eBay. I was the only bidder on it. And it's not perfect, far from it. But obviously I didn't buy it to run it. I bought it just to get that double reduction motor out of it. And so far there's no problems with the motor itself at all. So I think that was a fairly good investment. So very likely this motor is going to wind up in a Commodore Vanderbilt or an 898, a 994, something, when I run across one that needs a motor. And these 400 double reduction motors are the same motors that are in the 666, so they have plenty of power. Anyway, I just want to do a quick video on this. It's been here, I don't know, probably 2 hours now. And I played around and played around with it, and went through the box of the old junk parts, looking for a body for it, and found this one. And this one has a coupler on it, but I always keep the broken ones separate, and then usually scavenge them for parts. Usually the tab and slot coupler, the foot plate itself. There's not a whole lot of parts on a Marx 400 body. But in this case, this is a 490, as you see, and just needed something to put on it with a coupler on it so I could test this motor. So ran it on the bench, got all the bugs worked out of it, replaced the brush and the brush spring, cleaned it up, oiled it, lubed it, tuned it, and this engine is running absolutely perfectly. Plenty of power. That's 2010 litho cars at 50% power. As you see, it's running nice and smooth. It's not buzzing or humming. There's no gear noise. So it was just a matter of replacing the brush and the brush spring. The rest of it was basically just cleaning it up. Cleaning the brushes, oiling it. It had been sitting for years, not decades. It hadn't been sitting that long, but it had been sitting for a long, long time. And not sure why the E-unit was bad. It looked good, and I figured I'd take it out and it would run perfectly. And I put it on the rail and nothing. And of course, then I discovered the brush and the spring was gone, so replaced that, still nothing. And of course, noticed that the E-unit coil was getting hot, so it was getting power, it was just no longer cycling. So something had gummed it up. I have no idea what. Maybe someone had sprayed oil into it. I have really no idea. But regardless of what I tried, it would not run. It wouldn't go forward, it wouldn't go backwards. The E-unit would not cycle at all. So, did our old friend the bypass and some additional lubing and tuning, and this little engine is running just fine. It's definitely worth $7. Even if you ran it as it is, it's worth $7. So I just wanted to do a quick video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.